on Speedweek, a young man from the suburbs wins out in the country.
Some neighborhood boy wins the race of countries.
And a Brazilian breaks through behind the Iron Curtain.
This and more next on Speedweek.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Speedweek. I'm Bob Jenkins.
And I'm Larry Newber. We're here to review what happened in motorsports last week here in the U.S. and around the world.
And we begin in central New York. Sunday's Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race was postponed by rain and held on Monday, but the wait was worth it. The jet dryer at the left tells the story. It was still gloomy and damp when the cars took to the track Monday for a start. Jeff Bodine, fresh off an IROC win in front of the hometown fans Saturday, was the race's first leader. Early casualties, Bill Elliott, a broken track rod on the rear axle. When Chuck Schrodel blew an engine in the S's, Rusty Wallace made contact with Jeff, who hit the wall and damaged the front suspension. Bodine would not be a contender the rest of the day. Sterling Marlin and Bobby Hillin Jr. slid off course, and Hillin hit the tire wall. After removal of the mess on the front of the car, Bobby continued. Benny Parsons carried our in-car camera, and we saw Benny's view of Derek Cope's spin. Then there was this synchronized spin involving Morgan Shepherd and Terry Labonte. Neither suffered terminal damage. Wallace had tested extensively here, qualified second, and was the fastest car on the track all day. After getting the lead from Tim Richmond, Wallace stretched the lead to over 20 seconds. Richmond's effort to catch Rusty failed when he spun in turn one. Labonte then went into second and finished there, giving Terry his 7th top 5 finish this year. And Dave Marcus was third, giving him his 3rd top 10 finish in the last 4 races. With a lead of more than 20 seconds, Rusty was able to duck into the pits on the last lap to get a splash of fuel and still maintain the lead. In fact, he beat Labonte by more than 11 seconds.
I kept asking him, I said, guys, you want me to slow down because we had such a big lead? And Barry says, heck no, run hard. We got to get it to stay. Let's get a big lead. If we got a pit, we got enough time, we can still get him. We come down pit road, hit the gas. She ran out of gas, and I was trying to leave pit road and finally lit back up. And, boy, when I come out and I didn't see anybody behind me yet, I knew I was lucky, I'll tell you.
It was Rusty's 3rd career victory and the first for Pontiac this year. Next week, he'll return to the site of his first win, Bristol. This weekend, Wallace and others will be at Michigan International Speedway. We'll have live coverage at noon Eastern Time on Sunday. In other Winston Cup news, Wayne King has resigned from the Piedmont team. Billy Hagan has taken over complete control and is now listed as team manager. King says he resigned because of health reasons and a desire to pursue other business ventures.
The IROC final also at Watkins Glen. Jeff Bodine had strung together 3 top 5s and held a scant 2-point lead over Al Unser Jr., who won the last race. Jeff and Mustard rocketed off the front row. Darrell Waltrip tried to follow, but they changed the turn's radius since practice. Later, little Al suggested Jeff's start was quite early, but didn't really protest. While Jeff and Al Jr. left everyone else behind, Wally Dallenbach Jr. in his element of road course had a chance at the crown, but he cut a tire. Michael Andretti finished 4 for 4, no incidents or races, but he is still one of kart's very best. Lots of passing for an IROC road race. Unser Sr. moved up 5 positions, Mario 4, and Scott Pruitt was the shooting star in, note this color, powder blue from 11th to 4th. Unser Jr. in the strong Rose car couldn't catch Bodine, driving the previously undistinguished Mustard car. Jeff's winnings, $191,000 for the championship. Al was also 2nd in final points, Ray Hall 3rd, Wally 4th, and Waltrip 5th. 3 of the last 4 IROC champs, NASCAR. That powder blue car firmly established itself as the outstanding machine of the series, racking up 72 points. Jeff Bodine scored 76. No other IROC Camaro scored more than 36. Further, the car has scored 40 more points in history than any other, and the most wins, 3.
The first super speedway built outside the United States has been officially opened. Some Winston Cup drivers attended the ceremonies and did some tire testing. Mark Allen reports from Australia.
Looking on were not your usual race fans, but then again, this was not your usual tire test. Legendary Richard Petty had led a small contingent of American drivers nearly 12,000 miles down under to Calder Park Thunderdome, the first super speedway oval ever built outside the United States. The man responsible for bankrolling the Calder Park Speedway is Bob Jane, an Aussie tire magnate who has invested $25 million to host the International NASCAR 300, November 29th.
Build a track is a business venture. NASCAR racing is the most popular form of sport in the world, and of course it races sedan cars, and that sells product.
Using an Aussie-built car, Petty tested tires on a track originally configured to duplicate the 1.5-mile Charlotte Speedway, but has been shortened to its permanent demanding 1.2-mile length. Bobby Hillen Jr. also shook down one of the 6 Aussie cars already complete for the November race. Petty rolled up more than 200 laps in 2 days at speeds in the low 140s and proclaimed Calder Park Thunderdome just about fit for a king.
They've done some tracks in recent years at the last couple of years at home where they were supposed to have some experts that knew how to lay on the bank and stuff, and they didn't know as much as these boys did.
The November 29th race is expected to draw at least 10 NASCAR stars battling their international counterparts. The long-range goal is to acquire a NASCAR sanction and run at least one event a year.
You hear all these people with supposedly with a lot of money, and they talk good games and stuff, but you know, most time when you know, it's put up or shut up time, they just shut up and leave. Well, this can't put up.
From Calder Park, Australia, this is Mark Allen reporting.
Speedweek is brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA Radials. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
In a moment, this European view from second is a winning one.
But this American view from second is just not close enough.
We test tires in this lab, but we don't really know how a TA radio will perform until we get it here. I believe TA radios are the best performance tires in the world, and I drive them into the ground to keep them that way.
TA radios from B.F. Goodrich, tested tough to make your car perform. You're about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil with a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing more freely. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make. Don't miss the Quaker State 500 at Pocono Raceway on Sunday, August 16th.
There came a moment when all the elements came together, unleashing a superbly equipped new breed of compact car, the Dodge Shadow, with 2- or 4-door availability, affordable price, a $770 protection plan. The new Dodge Shadow is going to cast a giant shadow across America. Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
It's unusual to start a race report concerning news from the circuit, but this week's Formula One bombshell is more significant than who won the Hungarian Grand Prix. If any team has been controlled by its driver in recent years, it seems to have been Lotus. If any driver has shown more moxie and speed, it's been Ayrton Senna. But this week, team manager Peter Warr announced that Golden Boy Senna had been replaced for 1988 by Nelson Piquet. John Bizignano asked Senna, is it likely he'll go to either McLaren or Williams next year?
Well, the only thing I would say that both teams are probably the best ones lately have proved to be, and I'm sure it's going to be one of the two, but I can't comment on that.
Piquet leaves Williams, last year's Manufacturers' Championship team. His teammate, Nigel Mansell, on pole again, streaked away at the start. For a while, this appeared to be the long-awaited successful race for both the Ferraris. Berger even pressured leader Mansell, but again, neither would finish. The McLarens of champ Prost and Johansson raced together until Stefan spun, almost taking them both out. Prost did hold on to finish third, though. After Mansell led 70 of the 76 laps, a wheel nut sailed off, ending his day. Piquet, who said he was lucky to finish himself, was handed the lead and then the win. His second in a row after 5 second places gives him a significant lead in points.
Adrian Newey, now the chief designer for the Newman-Haas Indycar team, will leave that team to rejoin March and design a new Formula One car.
The Curb racing team will sit out this weekend's Triple Crown Indy race and has fired Tom Sneva. John Andretti will replace Sneva beginning at Elkhart Lake in 2 weeks. And we hear that Roberto Guerrero has signed with Granatelli for another 2 years.
In addition to the Winston Cup and IROC races at Watkins Glen last weekend, Barber Sobbs also competed. The pole sitter was Ken Murillo, and he wins the race into turn number 1. But behind, a car smokes his tires and 2 cars tangle. Number 10, Michael Karskaten, and 19, Brian Bonner slide into the grass and the wall, bringing out the yellow. Also involved, John Estupian, who lost his nose. It was later found on the car of Greg Hobbs. Number 3, Bruce Feldman, pitted with throttle return problems and would restart last. On the green, Murillo led over number 21, Henrik Tenkati, number 9, Bobby Carville, and 27, Giuseppe Cipriani. Then Feldman picked off Cipriani, Carville in the S's, Tenkati in turn number 6. Cipriani spun on the main stretch, but at the checkered, Feldman is out of time and off the track behind winner Murillo.
And up in Canada, several races at Mosport Park north of Toronto. Stefan Pruel won another in Formula 2000, and Tommy Archer, the SCCA Race Truck Challenge.
And history repeated itself in the 24-hour endurance race. The SCCA-sanctioned escort radar warning event began Saturday with nearly perfect weather conditions. 43 started, led by the Baker Racing Corvette with Kim Baker, the Archer brothers, Mitch Wright, and Sean Hendricks. Canadian Scott Goodyear rolled this Porsche 944 after making this pit stop. Nearly perfect weather turned rainy before it was over, but the Tommy Archer-driven Baker Corvette won for the 2nd straight year by a 2-lap margin.
I got it loose last night once and tagged a rail, and we had to come in and bend back a front control arm or something like that in the suspension. So we had a little bit of trouble, but I tell you, when you got the Baker crew behind you, those guys work harder than the drivers.
Goodyear was among the starters in the Rothmans Porsche Challenge later that same day. Richard Spinard slid off track in the wet weather while racing with Goodyear. Other incidents involved Rick Bye while running in 4th spot. Goodyear, still feeling the effects of the rollover in the 24 hours, beat Spinard and Bill Adam.
I just had one world of trouble trying to focus my eyes and everything on the track, actually, after getting gasoline in them in the 24 hours. So I was sort of being probably where I shouldn't have been a few times.
Next, one of America's most active open wheelers is upset over last weekend,
while another hopes this hot idea will become a trend.
Join the thousands who enjoy Stock Car Racing magazine. You get brilliant action color photography, columns and stories by drivers who win, and the men who set up the winning cars. Technical articles that explain in detail the workings of winning suspensions, components, and engines. Stories about the men behind the wheel, the drama, the excitement of stock car racing.
Call 1-800-441-3636 for a year of Stock Car Racing magazine. Less than $15. Have Visa or MasterCard ready. 1-800-441-3636. Stock Car Racing magazine.
ESPN's World Tour slogan to win a trip to the Australian Grand Prix is Formula One Finale. Write that slogan on a card with your name and address and mail to World Tour Sweepstakes, P.O. Box 911, Ridgely, Maryland 21683.
Travel arrangements made through Eastern Airlines. Whether you're traveling to Florida for business or pleasure, chances are Eastern's going your way. At Eastern, we've got your summer.
Calendar-wise, this should not be the so-called silly season, but one could never tell by the musical chairs in the world of outlaws. Last week saw wholesale driver hopping, and this week, as teams prepare for the prestigious Knoxville Nationals, even more. Kings Royal winner Haudenschild returns to his season's first ride. Ron Schumann now takes over Warren Mockler's former seat. Danny Smith inherits his recent Luna Ford. Jeff Swindell to the Trigueiro brothers car from California. Mark Kinzer is back in the family number 51. His vacated seat in the Not Gambler to Dave Blaney. And the surprise teenage Jeff Gordon gets the Stanton house car now. After Blaney won for his new owner Friday night at Eldora in Ohio, sprinters came from miles around to race Saturday at the Big E. After something broke, Harry Garrett was sorry he loaned Rich Vogler his wing. Rich was sorry something broke. Main event racing was exciting. Steve Kinzer passed Brad Doty for the lead, while other traffic included Blaney and Gordon. Doty was the night's second flipper, getting bumped by a lap car. Not really a flip, is it? And turn one also claimed Danny Smith violently, who snags and dumps over Doug Wolfgang. Steve Kinzer topped off this night with his record-breaking 29th season win, and then added one more the next night at Findlay, Ohio's Millstream Speedway.
The Midget Nationals in Belleville, Kansas drew the top midget drivers from throughout the country. In Sunday's B main, Russell Wright took a side-over-side roll down the backstretch, but was okay. Indy 500 starter Stan Fox is here for the A main, and this is a Pontiac-powered car. And here's Sleepy Tripp, former USAC midget champion, who's still winning in the USAC Western Series. The Pontiac jumped out front when the green dropped and began to open up quite an interval as Tripp and pole sitter John Backlund were dicing for second. But Fox was driving it too hard and burned up the right rear. Finally, the tire goes flat, and Stan is history. And so Tripp went into the lead and would stay there the rest of the way. Pennsylvania's Johnny Heidenreich then moved up to challenge Backlund for second. Heidenreich would wind up fourth behind Backlund and Robbie Flock. For Tripp, it was his 19th victory of 1987. He's won 7 USAC Western States midget features and still leads the points in that series.
The nation's most successful weekly super-modified track, Oswego, New York, closed down last week, allowing its competitors to travel west. A couple went to Winchester, Indiana's Ultra High Banks, but many more showed up over the weekend for Sandusky, Ohio's High Miler Nationals. The double O of Joe Gosick, the O2 of second-generation racer Eddie Bellinger, and Tim Nelson from out east. Gosick and Nelson won heats. The Midwest banner, hoisted by Gary Albritton and the Gibsons, son Gene Lee and father Todd also raced. Though not as exotic as supers we've encountered at places like Phoenix and Portland, the Ohio powwow showed a touch more variety from upstate New York. Bruce Roby, Doug Saunier, and Randy Wynn have a great battle going on for track season points, but none figured prominently in tonight's special race outcome. New York's Brian Herr provided the night's biggest scare, lighting up the sky, but his uniform did the job. Many would vote for Bentley Warren's Flying 5 as the nation's finest super, but he couldn't ground homestader Gene Lee Gibson tonight. Ohio drivers Albritton and fast qualifier Randy Wynn were 3rd and 4th, Empire Stater Gosick 5th.
Before the Sandusky weekend began, some super-modified teams went to Winchester, Indiana's High Banks for a show with the USAC midgets. In one of the heat races, Jeff Bloom, who wanted to set a world speed record here but failed in this low pass in a heat race, but he came back to win it. In the feature, occasional late model driver Willie Stutzman in yellow was pressed hard by Tom Marks in red. Marks was clearly the best of show, but when he approached slower traffic, Tom was into the wall and out of the race. That same Gene Lee Gibson that was in Sandusky beat Bob Fry in yellow, who was driving a V6-powered Sprinter. In the midget portion, the racing and speed was incredible. Over 105-mile-an-hour laps were common. Rich Vogler and Donnie Jones were together throughout the first 2/3 of the 30-lapper, but Jones dropped off the pace, giving Vogler another USAC midget win.
Drag racing, like other forms of racing, has changed over the years. Kenny Bernstein talks with Tom Mcewen in this week's edition of the Bernstein Files, brought to you by Quaker State.
So to talk about the early days of funny cars, and do you think today is easier to drive, even though we're going 40 or 50 miles an hour faster than they were back in 1969, 1970?
Yeah, I think the cars of today are a lot easier to drive, to get them down the racetrack as far as handling is concerned. We've got a few more things that we've got to do, as you know, on the inside with the activating the computers or the timers or the high speeds or the shifters or the air, all that, more things to do inside the car. But these cars are so sophisticated now with the new bodies like the one you've got, the Buick that you've got, that's aerodynamically stable and it makes the car hug the ground good. They don't smoke the tires like they used to. They don't shake like they used to. So I think that they're easier. And you take someone like the Gwynn's dragster, we'd get in that. We'd think we went to heaven because it's 4 miles long, and the easiest thing for it to do is go straight, and he gets out, and his far suit doesn't even get dirty.
It's a limousine.
So I think that the cars of today are these young guys coming up. When I started driving, You couldn't see where you were going, number one, because you sat behind the engine. And by the time you got the smoke in your face and the oil and the fuel out of the blower, I used to drive by looking out the sides of the car in the old days. And
did you ever put rags on the back of your gloves to wipe the oil off the goggles?
No, I never did that. I wasn't that smart in those days. No, I know. We used to wear the old Tony Nancy leather face mask stuff in those days and a leather jacket. And in those days, we thought that was the safe thing to do. And the poor guys that got in fires, you know, those things stuck right to their skin, and it's an abrasive type thing for a motorcycle. It's not made for fires, you know.
Folks, if you ever want to talk to someone that knows a whole lot about drag racing from a long time ago to the present, just come and find Mcewen, because he knows a lot of good stories. I'm Kenny Bernstein.
Now here's this week's trivia question. Who accumulated the most points in the Indycar Triple Crown last year? A, Kevin Cogan, B, Bobby Rahal, C, Mario Andretti, D, Johnny Rutherford, or E, Pancho Carter? Larry will have the answer in a moment.
Motorcraft quality parts travel with a vast crowd. Like funny car champion Mark Oswald, pro stock champs Ricky Smith and Bob Glidden, off-road champ Manny Esquera, top NASCAR driver Ricky Rudd. Quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
You're about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil with a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing more freely. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make. Don't miss the Quaker State 500 at Pocono Raceway on Sunday, August 16th.
No matter how Dodge makes it look, winning ain't easy.
When the road is long and the going gets tough, less than your best is never enough. But the dream of winning lets you meet the test, because winners are dreamers who give it their best. And if winning was easy, why run the race? You'd be number one if you don't set the pace. At Dodge we know there's only one first place. If winning was easy, it wouldn't be a race.
At Dodge, we set the pace.
And the answer to this week's trivia question, Bobby Rahal, although he won Indy, didn't finish either Michigan or Pocono. Andretti won Pocono after his 32nd in Indy and crashing at Michigan. Rutherford won Michigan, but was 8th and 18th at the others. A good guess would have been Carter. He finished 3rd twice, but 16th at Indy. So the answer is A, Kevin Cogan, 2nd at both Pocono and Indy, but 22nd at Michigan. And ironically, Kevin has only scored 1 point in this year's entire series.
The high-banked quarter-mile oval in Anderson, Indiana provided the setting for ASA's 7th race. Like a shark, Butch Miller and his Chevrolet Camaro have devoured the competition this year, winning 4 of 6. Those hoping to repel Miller include Dick Trickle. Bob Siniker, 12th in points coming into this race, destined for a 3rd place finish tonight. And leading rookie contender Ted Musgrave, who was 2nd to Miller last weekend at Cayuga. At the start, Ted in his Buick was the early leader, hounded closely by Miller. Early yellow, number 24, Bob Fry, in his first Anderson appearance in something other than a sprint car, spins harmlessly in front of the leaders. He eventually finished 25th. During this yellow, fans sought shelter from one of the several showers that would dampen the evening. After leading 108 of the first 111 laps, Musgrave loses it in turn number 1, possibly due to a damp track, and is out of the race. Pit stops. Butch comes in for gas and tires, but leaves before the refueling process is complete. After completing nearly a lap, he manages to shake the can loose. This contributes to his 4th place finish. Lap 260, last year's Rookie of the Year, Kenny Wallace, brother of Rusty, leads, but is passed by the KG veteran Trickle. Following another rain delay, Trickle in his secondary car beat Wallace, and Dick recorded his first ASA win since Indianapolis Raceway Park in August of 1985.
I had my oldest motor and my worst car, and I told the boys we'd probably win this one, but it is a good car. It's the car, we changed tires on it in midpoint of the race, and it seemed like we got the staggers right, and it was just hooked up, and we're able to get up front and stay up front. I'm happy.
Trickle also won the second of the three-race NASCAR All-American ARTCO Challenge Series at Kaukauna, Wisconsin. Butch Miller set a new track record and finished second.
Winston West continued its reputation as one of America's most active late model divisions on road courses. The second year in downtown Tacoma saw Glenn Stewart outpower the venerable but young living Herschel McGriff into the first turn. Within one lap, though, Herschel, who drove in the first Southern 500 in 1950, was leading. His steady line was followed by Stewart for much of this race. Frequent winner Chad Little, Sumner McKnight, and former champs Jim Robinson and Bill Schmidt. McGriff took another stride toward winning his second straight series crown in winning. The SPI Formula Atlantics also raced. Johnny O'Connell was on pole. He's been fast all year. Johnny O ripped away and showed only rear tread the rest of the day. Chris Smith had timed second and finished there. Some shuffling behind, though. Ted Prappas moved up to third. Jan Pikus moved around Parker Johnstone and Dean Hall. Former champ Dan Marvin's biggest argument now with doctors who say a broken ankle from a crash should sideline him for a couple of months. Dan says, nah, much less. While the dispute for fourth between Hall and Jan Pikus. Jan says he was passed by Dino under yellow.
Elsewhere in stock car racing, Daniel Keene won the All-Pro race at Concord, North Carolina. David Green, the All-American Challenge at Goodlettsville, Tennessee. And Larry Pollard won his first ever Busch Grand National race in Hampton, Virginia.
And still to come, thousands flock to America's most famous IndyCar track.
While still thousands more blanket the front stretch, but perhaps not for the reason you're thinking. Stay with us.
Hey, Pete, going to town with us?
Nah, go ahead. Looks like you had a little trouble.
Oh, we can take care of it.
A day off is something real special, but so's a good neighbor.
Down with this, Pete.
Busch. Head for the beer brewed natural as a mountain stream.
Head for the mountains of Busch beer.
Bob Strange, B.F. Goodrich test engineer.
The trick to building great all-terrain tires is making them as good off-road as on. All-terrain TAs from B.F. Goodrich are tested in some of the roughest off-road situations in the world. I believe TA radials are the best performance tires in the world, and I torture them to keep them that way.
TA radials from B.F. Goodrich, tested tough to make your truck perform.
It's one of the biggest challenges of his career. Alain Prost races for his third consecutive Austrian Grand Prix win. See it live Sunday morning at 8:20 Eastern on ESPN.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway was active last weekend. Now, at first glance, this appears to be race day in May. But these don't look like typical bandsmen, and the American flags outnumber checkered flags. That's a little different. No, this was opening ceremonies for the semi-annual Pan American Games, this year conducted in Indianapolis. The Speedway frequently is used in Indy's long off-season, but seldom have so many filled the stands on a day other than race day. And rare has it been the Speedway's face so altered. Tower Terrace was more like the UCLA card section, and the scoring tower like a freestanding structure at Disneyland. Participants alone numbered more than 30,000, and the spectators exceeded 70,000 paid. Do you realize how many American racetrack promoters would take those numbers on an off day? And I think most of the money is tax deductible. Tonight, Thursday, live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, the USAC Midgets from Hinsdale, Illinois. Sunday at 8:20 a.m., the Austrian Grand Prix. Later, the Winston Cup race from MIS. I'm Larry Newber.
And I'm Bob Jenkins. Join us for reports on those events and others next week on Speed Week.
Speed Week has been brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA Radials. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name.
United can show you the old Hawaii where time takes a rest. And you can become yourself again. So come become Hawaii with the airline that's been her friend for nearly 40 years. United.